Hey fam, what's up? I hope all is well. I was watching the news earlier and I saw a great story about how the Cleveland baseball team changed its name to the Cleveland Guardians. And I think that they're to be commended by for doing that. And, being in DC and seeing the name of the Washington football team, being changed to whatever it's going to be, or hopefully it's not going to stay that because we definitely need something else. But as many of us are celebrating, of course, there are people out there who are disagreeing with it because they feel like it's too politically correct. People are celebrating cancel culture. People are talking about quote unquote woke culture, which is a word I am not a fan of. I don't believe in either. But it's interesting. I'm seeing people online saying, who cares about Cleveland changing the name of its baseball team to the Guardians? We have bigger things to worry about. Or, one comment from somebody said, I lean left and progressive, and I think that this is still just overreaction. And my response was, well, you're not that progressive. And I know a lot of people who claim to represent the quote unquote left and who are ignorant, who are racist, who don't want black people asserting power, or many non-white people in general. So quite honestly, coming at me with this idea of you're left or progressive, which means I'm going to think that you actually sway one way or the other, it's just not going to fly. But here's the thing. My response to these people was, and somebody said, well, what about, if it was such a problem, how can they haven't changed their name in this 106-year history? Now, I don't know if it's 106 years since the Cleveland baseball team has been in existence, but my response was simple. Well, because ignorance sells and hate sells, and that this is a country where the United States government used to allow postcards to be sold with real pictures of people who got lynched and burned alive at the stake in front of hundreds of people. And hate, and these pictures of black memorabilia with black people with big lips and all that other type of stuff. These are collector's items for a lot of people. So ignorance, hate sells, and these images of mascot sells. And for the guy who said, or the several people who said this isn't a big deal, I said that's interesting. You sound like somebody whose culture, the only way it's introduced to mainstream society is through a stereotype, by the way these mascots look, by the names, Blackhawks and all this other type of stuff. And they're like, well, what if you change your name to the white Caucasians? And I'm like, seriously? It's not the same thing when the majority. First of all, Caucasian isn't an offensive term, as far as I know. And it's not the same thing when the majority culture, which is widely represented across society, especially in areas of leadership and power, is represented. But again, this shows how people tend to minimize the experiences of cultures they don't engage in. And it's very frustrating because we see ignorance manifest itself. And who knows? Maybe the Cleveland Guardians might even lose money on this. But as Dr. King said, the time is always right to do right. And we have to be mindful of the fact that just because we may have enjoyed cheering on a team for numbers of years, or we went to the game with our dad or mom or grandparents or whoever, and there's these lasting memories, if something is deemed to be offensive to a particular group, we should make a concerted effort not to offend them. I believe, as Les Brown said, that we should do the work to create communities where everybody feels celebrated and not tolerated. And who's really going to lose out by a team being called the Guardians? Right? I mean, we can name, a lot of these teams nowadays, are named after animals, right? And a lot of times people associate Native Americans with animals. And I think that is wrong. I think it's disrespectful. I think it's extremely rude. And before all of this, what people called summer of reckoning and all of this other type of stuff occurred, many of us were fighting for all of the names of these teams to be changed, and people fighting for these names to be changed before I was even born. So this isn't new. This is, sometimes, Dr. King talked about, the arc of justice, being slow as it turns, but it turns towards justice, I should say. And this is real. And more teams need to do this on the college level, on the professional level, on the K to 12 level. This is the time when we just start to create communities. And somebody said, come on, we've been doing this forever. What's the big deal? And I'm like, better late than never. And somebody said, wow, we must be really in the last days. And I'm like, well, if we're in the last days, quite honestly, then why not make this time to make a community where everybody feels like they belong? Better late than never. So I don't know well, I have an idea of what went into the Cleveland Guardians changing its name to such. I think that it's a great thing that they did. I think that while we're on this topic, we need to do more to make sure that Native Americans are and their culture is visible in this society beyond stereotypes and Halloween and Pocahontas, quote unquote, and all of this other nonsense, because they are here, the original peoples here, and are suffering tremendously. Every level, everything that we talk about, I talk so much about challenges facing the African American community, and like on the majority of them, the Native American community has it worse. And so we can't forget our Native American family in this country, and we need to do our best to continue to get rid of all of these stereotypes and make sure we continually understand the culture, because they are a strong people, a very diverse people. I mean, come on, where do you think some of the names of the states and cities and towns that you came from come from? I mean, what do you think Chicago means? Like, come on. We got to do better. And so I commend the Cleveland Guardians for making this step. I hope other teams continue to do more. And like I said, let's continue to create these communities where we can just celebrate everybody for who they are, not stereotype them, not sell their image for a quick buck or years worth of quick bucks. I believe in this society we can indeed do better. Let's make it happen. Peace.